it's Mike with TechPB, and today we're going to do a show on the 09 Alien Independence. Now, last year at the 2008 MPPL San Diego, the last MPPL event they had, this was when this gun was debuted, and I was there. I got some pictures of it. I did a quick interview with Jack Rice, and obviously he kind of prematurely launched them at the end of 2008 because they weren't quite ready yet. But they're ready now. 2009 is here, and there's a little bit of a hot topic, between Jack Rice and Punkworks, and talking about the sweet bolt system and stuff like that. In 2009 in paintball, we've kind of gotten to the point where we know that paintball guns, they all pretty much shoot, for the most part, as long as all the regulators and things like that aside, they all pretty much shoot the same. Things like flatter trajectory or longer range or anything like that doesn't really happen in paintball anymore. 300 feet per second is 300 feet per second. Now, barring any sort of ball dents or any sort of really, really high rates of spin, once the ball is right about here, actually the gap is so short you can't even see it. Once it's actually about right here, unless it's got some sort of spin or a dent on the paintball or something like that, if it's at 300 feet per second, once it reaches, and I need to get an Allen key because I have to show you how precise we have to be here. Let's pull it out here. Once it gets to right about there, I don't know if you can see that or not, but pretty much maybe 1/1,000,000th of an inch away from the very end of the barrel. Once it hits that point, if it's at 300 feet per second, it's going to fly pretty much exactly the same distance as any other gun that's on the market. Now, unfortunately, the Independence has kind of been looked over because of just some bad marketing. We know that guns don't shoot flatter than other guns. That's total bullshit. We know that guns, because they use low pressure or high pressure, don't shoot further than the exact opposite. We already know that's bullshit. So with that, let's go ahead and move past that. Now, obviously, Jack Rice and the Alien has what they like to call the sweet bolt system, okay? And basically what it is how the valve is designed and how the bolt's designed tries to channel a very thin layer of air that goes to the underside of the paintball. For me personally, the sweet bolt system, I look at it just like I look just about any other bolt system that's on the market. For instance, let's just say the Bob Long Vice, okay? It uses a pillow bolt system. There's other guns that use a Venturi bolt system. The Egos use the Cure bolt system. The Dyes, they're like the Billy Wing bolts, got a soft tip face. And so, there's a ton of different bolt designs that are out there, and in my opinion, how I look at this with the Independence is this is basically Jack Rice. His bolt system, okay, just like Bob Long's got the pillow bolt, just like Planet Eclipse has got the Cure. So his system and his gun is what he likes to call the sweet bolt system. Now, I can't tell you when I'm out there on whether or not it creates a massive amount of backspin. I didn't find that at all. Because when I'm out there and we were playing X-Ball with it, the gun shot just as far pointing straight at my opponents as it did tilted 45 degrees to the left, tilted 45 degrees to the right. All I can say about the gun is that it shoots very, very well, okay? It is just as accurate as the most accurate guns I've ever shot on the market. It never broke paint. We never had any issues with it. And it's just been a very crisp, very accurate, no problems, no surprises type gun. A lot of the stuff that is in this gun, it's almost like they took some of the best parts of all the different guns on the market and put it in here, and then kind of went and did their own thing. The bolt, one thing that I really liked about the bolt is that it's a flat-faced bolt. Now, the best part about a flat-faced bolt is that the ball drops directly in front of the eyes. There's no moving forward, no moving back. It doesn't go into the bolt really far or anything like that. It just drops directly in front of the eyes, so that way the ball stack doesn't, move or adjust. The Independent Ram, didn't have any issues with that at all. It's just a very crisp, very accurate shooting gun. So what we're going to do here is let's go ahead and bring the camera in a little bit closer. Let's start taking the gun apart so I can show you what's inside it, and then we're going to take it out and do an efficiency test and then come back in for the conclusion. We got the gun up a little bit closer here. Let me show you something that's really cool about the Independence that I liked. The low rise clamping feed neck is one of the lowest clamping feed necks I've ever seen. It's actually so low that if you try to put a Pinocchio in here, the Pinocchio will actually hit the bolt pin. It's actually that low. So as you can see, it actually hits the bolt pin. So when we were testing this gun, we were actually using the invert 2 just because of how low the clamping feed neck was. Really nice. If you're looking for that really low profile type gun, the clamping feed neck that's on here and the feed neck design on here is very similar to a Mark in terms of how low it sits to the bolt, but it's got a clamping design instead of the wedge. So where do we start? Let's go ahead and pull the bolt out. Take a quick look at the bolt. As you can see, here's kind of their soft rubber here that's on the front. They also cut an extra notch into the top of the bolt here, and per Jack Rice explanation, this prevents any sort of hard pieces of Delrin rubbing against the second ball that might be in the stack. Let's go ahead let's remove the barrel. The barrel on this is actually really nice. It's got a lot of porting. It's on the inside of it, it's nice and mirror polished on the inside. Great little barrel. And actually, while we have this, and we have this up really close, let's go ahead and weigh it. Bring the scale over here. Now I believe they're claiming the gun weighs right around about 2 pounds. It definitely feels like that. Let's go ahead and turn it on. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see. It does have eyes. The eyes work. Okay, so we're at 0, 0. Stick it on here. Press hold. Looks like we're sitting at 2 pounds, 1.6 ounces. 2 pounds, 1.6 ounces. That's about 1.5 ounces heavier than the 09 Ego. That's about 1/2 ounce lighter than the Vice. So it's right up there with some of the lightest guns on the market. Let's go ahead and start taking the gun apart. Now we're going to go ahead and pull out the bolt. Now the first thing we're going to take apart is the regulator. Now the regulator is very, very reminiscent of a custom products regulator. As a matter of fact, I would not be surprised if Custom Products actually makes these regulators for Alien. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I wouldn't be surprised because it's very close in design. Custom Products has the patent on that bearing slud design. So here we go. We take it apart, just 2 little halves. Wiggle out the piston, and then it's got one more odd. If you look at this, you've got a couple different washers here, and then you've got a washer that doesn't fit on the piston here. And this washer actually goes down there first. Goes on top of the piston like that and goes into the regulator first. So we'll slide that out. Now in here, this is basically just this. There's actually an extra washer here. There's actually the sled and the bearing. So let's go ahead and pull that out. Give it another tap. Okay, here we go. And the bearing just down there at the bottom should come out. There it goes. And here's the bearing. Now basically how this works is the bearing sits like that, and then when you push the screw in, the bearing goes down and it lifts it up and increases decreases the pressure. So that's how that works. So the little bearing goes inside of that little sled there and raises it or lowers it. Now the only issue is when you put this back together, you have to make sure that the slope goes against the screw there. So let's go ahead and drop the bearing back in. And now what I do is I take the adjustment screw and face it down. And let's go ahead and make sure that this is facing the same direction. And it is. And push it all the way down. And now you can tighten this up. And screw it back up. All right, so we've just taken apart the high pressure regulator. Let's take apart the low pressure regulator. The low pressure regulator is actually really similar to an ego in terms of how it has a spring on the front and a spring on the back. Okay. Out comes the piston. Out comes the back spring. So very, very similar to an ego in terms of how it has a spring on the front and a spring on the back. So what we'll do is we'll just slide this back into the piston housing here. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and remove the grip, but real fast, real nice little trigger. Let's go ahead and remove the two wires. We got the solenoid wire, and pop that out, and let's go ahead and remove the eye wires. Pop that out. It's actually a really easy gun to completely take apart. Go ahead and set this little sheet of paper aside. So we'll remove the front screw, remove the back screw, okay, and we'll carefully remove the solenoid wire. Out comes the eye wire. And from here, they'll show you how easy it is to remove this ram. If you wanted to remove the whole ram housing, there you go. Completely comes out. Now you don't have to do this to service the ram. Actually, all you need to do to service the ram is just unscrew the ram cap, which is on the back. Oop, keep getting the wrong Allen key. Okay, you get your ram cap that's on the back. Out comes the ram cap. Just push it through the front. Out comes the ram. That's it. And the solenoid that's on here is the same solenoid that is in like the DM9. That is the same exact solenoid that you'll see on the DM9. The DM8, I believe, used that same exact solenoid. So that's a really, really well-designed, well-trusted solenoid design in the paintball industry. Works well on the DM9. You see Ironman out there using it all the time. So it's not a crazy solenoid. You know, it's not some sort of off-brand. Went with a trusted design. No problems with the solenoid. So we'll go ahead and screw back on the ram cap. And now this is one whole complete unit. We can set this aside. Now what we'll do, just for fun, is let's go ahead and remove the LPR housing. LPR housing comes out very similar to an ego. It's got a bolt or a pin that goes completely through it. Now something I did notice is the screw that goes in here into the LPR housing. Now this could be just something that I got, maybe I got a prototype gun, I'm not exactly sure. But as you're trying to unscrew the regulator, it kind of chewed up the inside of the regulator there. So, it didn't seem to affect any performance, but when I looked down into the gun, I did see some shavings inside of the regulator. That's never good. Now that we got that out, all you got to do is simply just grab this and pull it. You may need to wiggle it just a little bit. Okay, here it goes. Oh, there it goes. Now the spring that's in here that they use for the poppet is actually very reminiscent of the long spring that is in the very reminiscent of the long spring that you'll find in like the Vice and the Protege. Just a really long spring. Let's go ahead and pop out the poppet. The poppet that I found in here is actually very similar to the Alias poppet. As you can see, it's got the cone-shaped top there. This is actually an Alias poppet right here. And you can see how close in design they are. You know, the Alias obviously has got a little bit of a different design here. It's got a, you know, poppet O-ring. The Alien does not. But the cup seal here, the poppet design, is actually very similar in design to the Alias, which is a good thing because the Alias, you know, that was one of the most bulletproof poppets that was out there. Now what we'll do is, just for fun, let's go ahead and remove the valve. There we go. We'll really get into the heart of the whole sweep technology right now. So now what we'll do is just take a swab, push it in through the front. There we go. And out comes the valve. So here's the valve. And while we're at it, we'll go ahead and throw a little bit of lubricant on it. And as you can see, there's where the channel of air starts right there. Oops, got it backwards. There we go. So the ram comes forward, hits it right here, opens up the poppet. And the air, the high pressure air comes in, right out through there, goes right up through the bolt. Neat little system. So let's go ahead and lube this up. And we'll go ahead and slide this back into place. Now obviously there is a machined divot in the valve that's meant to line up facing down. And so we slide it forward with the divot facing down. And we just carefully push it into place, making sure that it doesn't catch on any O-rings. Got it into place with the other finger. There we go. Okay, so we got it lined up. Now we find the grub screw. We'll put this down in place. Tighten this down. You definitely don't want this wiggling loose. Let's go ahead and take the poppet. If you wiggle it around enough, it will drop into place. Let's take the spring. Spring goes into place. Now obviously you have to line this up perfectly because there's a screw holding it in place. So let's go ahead and drop the LPR housing into place. Okay, once you get the hole lined up, screw that screw down. Now from here we can push back the ram. And now we just got to line the hose up. Click the ram assembly back into the body. Now what we're doing is we're just basically feeding the wires through. In goes the eye wires. In goes the solenoid wires. There we go. Make sure that we're not getting any rub on the trigger. And now let's go ahead and plug in the eye wires. You always want to make sure you're really careful at this point. You don't want to plug them in backwards. Plug in the solenoid. Now we'll just carefully tuck the wires back into the gun. There we go. And our eyes are working. That's always a good start. Now let's go ahead and basically reinstall the trigger frame. Slide this back a little bit. Line our holes up. Screw it down. Always a good idea to take a look and make sure we don't have any eye wires pinched. So if you have eye wires pinched, this is usually when you're going to ruin them. So just want to make sure that everything clears the body okay. There we go. So we're making some progress here. Go ahead and put the bolt back on. And we test the eyes. Eyes are working. There we go. Now let's take our high pressure regulator. Take our air hose. Now let's go ahead and reinstall our grips. Hey fellas, we're about to do the efficiency test on the Alien Independence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the camera off the tripod. I'm going to show you a tank temperature reading. Okay. So it looks like we're sitting right at about 119 degrees, somewhere around there. And as you can see here on the gauge, we're sitting at right at 4,000 psi on the dot. So let's go ahead and set up the camera here. And let's get our masks on. Now what we're going to do is we're going to shoot a couple over the chronograph. Okay. So let's shoot a couple over the chronograph, see how we're at. Oops. Shoot another one. So it looks like we're sitting right at 300 feet per second. So let's go ahead and set the camera back up again. Now a lot of people ask, why do you take a tank temperature reading? Well, there's conspiracy theorists on the internet that think that we're freezing some tanks and microwaving other tanks to try to get better efficiency out of guns that, quote, we like. And, you know, whatever. Alright, so we'll start shooting. And while we're at it here, we're also going to be testing out the... Oh, got a couple more in there, okay. We're going to be testing out the Invert 2 loader today, which came on the market, a good little loader for 60 bucks. As you can see, it's shooting just fine. Dump another pot in there. A lot of people are going to ask, how does the Alien Independence shoot? I mean, it's an accurate ball-on-ball gun. It shoots very, very well. Very crisp. It's a very crisp, very accurate little gun. I mean, it's a great shooting gun. Thank you, sir. The trigger feels good on it. Everything about this gun shoots great. Like we're dying out. I will say, I think we probably just got a couple more shots left in it. Just a couple more. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. Let me see how much paint we had in this one. I think we had probably about a half a pod.
Yeah.
There you go. Got it. Sweet. Yeah, about a quarter of a pod.
2/3.
Sweet.
So we had 2, 4, 6, 8.
About 8.5.
Because that's less than a half pod.
Okay, so yeah, probably about 8.5, 8 2/3.
Yep.
8 2/3 with the Alien Independence. So as you saw, good efficiency. For some reason, since 2008 and 2009, our efficiency numbers have gone down on every gun across the board. I'm not sure why, but it's just as good as just about any other gun that's on the market. But with that said, so let's sum up the Alien Independence. What was my overall impression of the gun? I really liked it. Now, unfortunately, I can't review the packaging because I asked to review an Alien Independence, and this is pretty much all I got in the box. So I don't know what kind of packaging comes with this gun. I was able to get online to alienpb.com and get the manual, which was actually pretty well written. The board on the gun is great. It's got all the modes. You can just go right out into any PSP, any tournament. The board that's in here, from what I understand, was actually a Lucky board. I believe it was Lucky, one of the software programmers for Lucky wrote the programming for this, I believe, until before he went over to Virtue. I think that was the conversation that I had. But nice shooting gun. No problems with it the whole time we had it. We had this gun for about a month. We were handing it off. Very, very accurate marker. I really didn't have anything bad to say about the gun. Unless, of course, if the packaging, if this is all you get in the box, well, obviously that's a major problem considering that, they're charging close to $1,000 for the gun. But in terms of on-the-field performance, the gun shoots great. I know a lot of people make a big deal about the sweep bolt system. Does it work? Does it not work? In terms of adding extra range, no. Is it accurate? It's very accurate. But in terms of it adding extra range, I didn't notice that it did that. But we all know this in 2009, with the exception of like the Apex and the Flatline and some of the other true backspin systems that are out there. It takes a lot of spin to get a ball to float out there, even just another couple feet. But that's a good thing, because if you're using this gun on the X-ball field, when you tilt the gun in, you don't want the balls curving around corners and stuff like that. But the gun shoots great. It shoots great. I like the laser eyes. I like the trigger that's on it. The regulator is great. The low pressure regulator is great. The RAM works awesome. Something I really liked about the RAM is that it's got kind of a bumper on the front of it. So it's a very crisp, very pleasant shooting gun. So that's about all I got to say for the Alien Independence. For this gun, I was actually really impressed. Someone else who's another opinion, who if you don't particularly like my opinion, Android AK-47. You guys know him, Bruce. He's one of the moderators over at TechPB. I've known Bruce for years. We're both long-time Intimidator shooters. And when he came into town to play with us over at Cone Sports, he was using this gun and probably shot about a case through it when he was here in town. Showed up, he's like, I need a gun. We gave him this gun, put a loader on it, tank. He went out there, we played some woods ball with it, had a really good time. If you guys watched the woods ball goggle cam that I had, where you guys heard me breathing through the mask, that was him right over there. You could hear me talking to him. He was using this gun. So if I can find some footage of it, I'll put it up. But just overall pleasantly surprised. I think they've done a great job with this gun. It feels good. There's no surprises to it whatsoever. If you guys have any more questions about it, go check out alienpb.com. Thank you very much. Who do we have far? Who's past you on the right?
None of our guys. Our guys.
Okay, then that's where I'm going. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Awesome. Was that him? That was him?
That was him. Is he running or is he out? He's walking.
There's a trail back here.
He's still in because he's got two people. Okay, I got one
Where at?
He's right here behind this small tree.
No shot.
You see where I'm shooting?
White shirt, you probably got him better than I do. I don't have a shot.